My name is Rachel Langston. I'm 32 years old, and this is how I took revenge on the man who told me I was nothing but a replaceable cog in the machine. Today, I sit in a sunlit corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and my name etched in gold on the glass door. Just beyond it, a dozen bright, sharp young employees are laughing, collaborating, and building something we all believe in. My company. I sip my coffee, glance at my inbox, and see the latest email from Brad. Subject line: please reconsider. I don't open it. I don't need to. I already know what it says. 3 years ago, I was crying alone in a supply closet, humiliated, exhausted, and questioning everything I thought I was good at. It was a Friday, the end of a brutal week. I had stayed late every night, fixed a failing presentation, and personally saved one of our biggest clients from walking. I walked into that morning's department meeting proud, prepared, and ready to finally get a shred of recognition. I had barely begun my update when Brad, my boss, the regional director, and the kind of man who called every woman kiddo, cut me off mid-sentence, took over the projector, and presented my work as if it were his. Slide after slide of my strategy, my numbers, my late nights, all rebranded as his leadership. The worst part, no one blinked. Afterward, I followed him into the hallway. I wasn't even angry yet, just stunned. I asked him, quietly, why he didn't mention that it was my work, why he hadn't even let me finish speaking. He didn't flinch, just looked down at me with that smug little smirk and said, "You're replaceable, Rachel. Don't take it personally." I didn't cry in front of him. I nodded, turned away, and walked back to my desk like a ghost. But 20 minutes later, I was curled up on the floor of the supply closet, gripping the sleeves of my cardigan with shaking hands, tears running down my face faster than I could wipe them away. I had given everything to that job. My time, my energy, my weekends, my loyalty. And in return, I was told I didn't matter. That was the moment I stopped wanting his approval and started planning how I'd make him eat his words. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the daughter of a mechanic and a preschool teacher. My dad spent his days elbow-deep in engines, coming home with grease-stained hands and a quiet pride in a job well done. My mom, all soft smiles and patience, taught kids their first letters and numbers in a room filled with finger paint and juice boxes. We didn't have much, but we had work ethic, the kind that gets baked into your bones before you even know what a resume is. I wasn't the smartest kid in the room, never the one with straight A's or perfect SAT scores, but I was the one who stayed the latest, who asked the most questions, who picked up the worst shifts and never complained. Hustle was my second language. I majored in marketing because it made sense. It was creative, fast-paced, and full of possibility. I bartended nights and weekends to pay for school, memorizing cocktail recipes while rewriting essays in my head. When I graduated, I had no connections, no glowing internship, just a degree, a solid GPA, and a stomach full of nerves. I sent out 100 resumes and finally landed a junior role at Grayson & Howe, a mid-sized marketing agency known for their glossy pitch decks, ruthless deadlines, and a hustle culture that bordered on cultish. I didn't care. I was in. I wanted to prove myself. I didn't take breaks. I didn't take vacations. I said yes to everything. The late nights, the weekend assignments, the projects no one else wanted. I kept my head down, smiled at everyone, and tried not to take up too much space. I believed if I just worked hard enough, someone would notice. Someone would open the door. Brad Monroe was my boss, the VP of strategy, Ivy League pedigree, designer suits, hair that never moved, and a smirk that made you feel like you'd already lost before the conversation began. He was slick, charming in the most calculated way, and entirely ruthless. Brad didn't mentor. He used. Every good idea that passed through our department eventually had his name on it. Every success was his vision. Every failure, someone else's fault, usually mine. The only person who made that place bearable was Nina. She sat 2 desks down from me, always had a protein bar in her drawer and a tired smile on her face. Nina was kind, brilliant, and just as trapped as I was. We whispered our frustrations in the kitchen, shared emergency chocolate bars, and promised each other we were just one promotion away from things getting better. We both knew it was a lie, but it helped to pretend. Then there was Olivia, my younger sister, my forever hype woman. She FaceTimed me every week from her grad school apartment, always full of big energy and blunt truth. Rachel, you are way too smart to be letting some finance Kendall take credit for your brilliance, she'd say. You deserve better than this treadmill. I'd smile and deflect, tell her I was just paying my dues. Because deep down, I believed it. I thought if I just kept going, if I just proved myself over and over again, I'd earn a real seat at the table. But I didn't realize I was working for a table where people like me weren't welcome. The campaign came in hot, a fire drill, from the firm's biggest client, Teledyne Tech, threatening to pull their account unless someone could revive their crumbling brand identity. Brad sent a company-wide email that Friday afternoon, all caps, all urgency. Most people scattered like cockroaches, conveniently on vacation or suddenly slammed with other priorities. I stayed late. Again. I pulled together a task force. Just 3 junior analysts and Nina. And we holed up in a conference room all weekend. I wrote the copy, designed the pitch deck, rebuilt their entire brand strategy from scratch. On Sunday night, I didn't sleep. I just kept rehearsing the presentation, hoping that if I nailed this, I'd finally prove I deserved more than polite nods and hand-me-down credit. By Monday morning, I was buzzing with nerves and coffee. I walked into the boardroom with the deck queued up, my notes highlighted, my hands only slightly shaking. Brad strolled in late, as usual, flipping through the slides like they were a last-minute favor he was doing us. The client dialed in. I started strong, welcoming them, setting up the context. Slide 1, slide 2, and then Brad leaned forward, cut me off mid-sentence, and took over. He didn't even glance at me as he spoke. He went slide by slide, presenting every piece of strategy I had written, every insight I had developed, every sentence I had agonized over, as if it had all come from him. What we're proposing, he said smoothly, is a complete repositioning to center your digital future. A strategy my team and I crafted over the weekend. My team, my work, my hours, and just like that, it was his win. After the meeting, I followed him into the hallway, my pulse pounding in my ears. That was mine, I said, my voice shaking, but steady enough to hold. He didn't miss a beat. He sipped his coffee, oat milk latte, always, and gave me a half smile like he was doing me a favor by even responding. You're talented, Rachel, he said, cool and condescending, but don't get ahead of yourself. You're replaceable. If you can't handle that, maybe this isn't the place for you. I stood there, stunned. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. Not there. Nina passed me in the hall and didn't meet my eyes. I went to HR and got the usual. Vague sympathy. Empty nods, a reminder that Brad's tenure and results speak for themselves. I walked out of the office, got in my car, and drove to a Target parking lot just to sit somewhere that didn't smell like ambition and stale coffee. That's where I cried. Hot, ugly tears in the front seat of a beat-up Honda. Mascara running, shame sitting heavy in my chest. I stared out at the shopping carts drifting across the lot like they had more direction than I did. And that's when it hit me. I had spent years being loyal to a system that saw me as disposable. I had given them everything. My ideas, my time, my health. And in return, I was a cog. Easily replaced. Easily erased. I wasn't going to beg for recognition anymore. I wasn't going to work twice as hard just to be ignored. I wiped my face, took a breath, and said it out loud to no one. You want to see Replaceable? Watch me make myself impossible to ignore. Rachel stopped, raising her hand in meetings. She stopped staying late for praise that never came and quit rehearsing her talking points, just to be steamrolled by Brad. Something in her switched. Not anger exactly, but a colder kind of clarity. She smiled less, spoke less, and watched everything. At night, she stopped doom scrolling and started watching Skillshare tutorials on branding frameworks, market segmentation, SEO. She joined freelancer Facebook groups under a fake name so Brad's people wouldn't see. She revamped her LinkedIn, added new projects and keywords. Quietly, methodically, she started planting her exit. But Brad didn't stop. If anything, he leaned in harder. Gave her urgent pitch decks at 4:55 p.m. on Fridays. Interrupted her in client meetings with things like, what Rachel meant to say was, left her off calendar invites. Then blamed her for not showing up prepared. She kept her mouth shut until the day she overheard two junior analysts talking by the vending machines. One of them, Jason, fresh out of Columbia, the other joking about how he already got the salary bump. Bro, $85,000 to start. Rachel's stomach turned. She was making 65. After 5 years, a portfolio of wins, and mentoring half the team. She marched into HR, heart pounding, and asked for a salary review. The woman behind the desk smiled tightly and said, compensation isn't up for discussion at this time, but we value your contributions, Rachel. That night, Olivia called. Rachel finally told her everything. The stolen credit, the salary gap, the nights she couldn't sleep. Olivia didn't yell. She just said, why are you begging to sit at their table? Build your own. And that was it. The line that cracked. Something open. Rachel stared at her resignation letter for an hour. Then she clicked send. No other job lined up. No safety net. Just the roaring in her ears and the sudden silence after years of swallowing everything. Brad called her into his office like she was quitting a school club. He leaned back in his leather chair and said, with that same smug half smile, best of luck out there. Let me know how that works out for you. It stung more than she let on. She walked out with a cardboard box of mismatched desk stuff, a stapler, a mug, a fading post-it from Nina that said asterisk you're the best at this asterisk, and no plan. Her apartment suddenly felt too quiet. She refreshed her inbox 100 times that first week. Freelance jobs came in trickles. A $200 website audit, a $50 logo fix for a family friend, a copy edit for a real estate flyer. She lost weight from stress. Her rent was late. More than once. She cried into takeout containers or screamed into her pillow, wondering if she'd made a colossal mistake. But slowly, something shifted. A client she helped with branding sent her name to another. A wedding photographer she rebranded landed a viral TikTok and brought in 6 bookings. And sent Rachel a thank you bottle of wine. She started building a process. Packages. A retainer model. When a local tech startup reached out, she pitched them like it was her last shot. They hired her on a 3-month contract. Within weeks, she helped them triple their web traffic and get a feature in ***. They extended her, doubled her pay, asked if she knew any designers. She did. An out-of-work friend from college, then a copywriter, then a strategist. Rachel bought a folding table and turned her second bedroom into a tiny agency headquarters. She named it Arceo Clean. Bold. No nonsense. She made the logo herself at 2 a.m. on Canva, then replaced it with a real one 6 months later. She brought in a virtual assistant, then an actual assistant. She started getting inquiries from startups, nonprofits, women-led companies, and even a few mid-sized firms who'd grown tired of the Grayson and Howie Go circus. Her business didn't explode. It expanded like a web, client by client, referral by referral. She built a CRM, hired a part-time finance person, sent branded notebooks to new clients. She worked constantly. She missed meals. She forgot birthdays. But every late night, every deliverable, every satisfied client added weight to what she was building. She wasn't just making a business anymore. She was crafting something precise, powerful. I was building a bullet, she says, and someday, it'd go straight through their smug little kingdom. 2 years later, Rachel stood at the head of a polished oak table in a downtown high-rise. Her brand-bright team seated confidently beside her. The agency had grown beyond anything she imagined. What started in her apartment had turned into a boutique firm with a reputation for smart, bold campaigns that actually worked. National outlets were beginning to take notice. She'd been featured in a Forbes piece titled **The New Faces of Branding**. But this pitch, this client, was on another level. A global wellness brand, rebranding after a messy merger. The kind of account that could redefine everything. What Rachel didn't expect was to walk into the conference room and see Brad already sitting there. His posture stiffened. That signature smirk faltered. "Rachel," he said, disbelief cracking. His voice, she set down her laptop, smiled coolly, and said, "Didn't expect to see you here." The room shifted. Brad glanced at the executives, then at her team, a diverse, sharp group of women and men in clean blazers and clear-eyed confidence. He tried to recover, cleared his throat, and made a joke about the small world of branding. But the power dynamic had already flipped. Rachel's team went first. Their pitch was seamless, innovative yet strategic, full of personality and clear deliverables. They'd done the research, anticipated objections, and led with authenticity. Rachel didn't oversell. She didn't need to. Her presence was grounded, certain. Every word said, "We belong here." Brad's team followed. The difference was stark. Their slides were pretty, but thin. His language was full of buzzwords and old tricks. And suddenly, those tricks didn't land. He interrupted a junior associate, mid-answer, tried to charm the CEO with a half-joke that missed. Rachel didn't flinch, just took notes. At the end of the session, she stood, shook hands, and said, "Thanks so much for the opportunity. We'd be honored to partner with you." 1 week later, the call came in. The client had chosen Brand Bright. Rachel closed her eyes and just whispered, "Thank you," to no one in particular. That same afternoon, Brad emailed her. Subject. Ray, let's talk. Body. Congrats on the win. Impressive stuff. Would love to connect. I think we could collaborate on a future pitch together. She didn't reply. 2 days later, he called. Actually called. She debated letting it go to voicemail, but something in her, curiosity maybe, made her pick up. "Rachel," he said, too fast. "Look, I've been thinking about everything. About you. I think I made a mistake. Losing you." She didn't laugh. She didn't sigh. Her voice was calm. "You didn't lose me, Brad. You never had me. I was just too scared back then to see that I didn't need you." There was a pause. She could hear him swallow. "We could still, maybe there's a way to work together. I could offer you a consulting deal. Generous terms. Think of the reach." "No," she said simply. "Thank you, but I'm building something different." And she hung up. No anger. No drama. Just done. Rachel turned to her window and looked out over the city. The skyline didn't look so big anymore. Rachel used to think revenge would feel like fire, hot, all-consuming, a dramatic finale filled with applause or tears. But when it finally came, it didn't feel like fire at all. It felt like silence, peaceful, satisfied silence, the kind that wraps around you when you're no longer proving, chasing, or surviving, just being. And that silence came in unexpected moments. Seeing her company name on a client's front door, watching her team celebrate a campaign win, getting an email from a stranger saying, "You made me believe I could do this, too." She didn't just build Brand Bright to win. She built it so no one would have to feel what she felt in that Target parking lot. Now, she mentors young women entering the industry. Women who remind her of herself 10 years ago. Eyes wide, voices quiet, too afraid to ask for what they've earned. She helps them rewrite the script, teaches them how to price themselves, how to say no, how to stop apologizing for being brilliant. A few weeks ago, Nina reached out. She'd finally left Grayson, and how, after all these years, they met for lunch at a cozy cafe near Rachel's office. At first it was awkward. Ghosts of who they were back then still lingering in the air. But soon they were laughing, really laughing, about the endless late nights, the broken coffee machine, the time Brad made them redo a pitch deck because he didn't like the vibes. It was healing in a way Rachel didn't expect. Olivia just bought her first house. Rachel helped with the down payment. "You don't have to do that," Olivia had said, teary-eyed. "I want too." Rachel replied, "You believed in me before I did." That felt better than any client win. Brand Bright is growing, slowly, deliberately. Rachel's cautious. She remembers what it felt like to be burned out, invisible, chewed up and spit out by people who saw workers as tools. She refuses to become that. She meets with every new hire personally, makes sure her team logs off at a decent hour, pays them well, promotes from within, and actually listens. When someone messes up, it's a conversation, not a humiliation. Power means nothing if you don't use it to pull others up. She often says, "I used to chase approval. Now I chase purpose." And every time someone tries to ask her how she got her revenge she just smiles and says, "I didn't get revenge. I got free." It's late. The office is quiet. Lights dimmed. the hum of the city outside her windows. Everyone's gone home, but Rachel stayed behind to wrap up a few things. Old habits die hard. She moves through the office slowly, turning off lights, straightening a few desks, pausing to glance at the framed campaign poster her team just completed. Before she can grab her bag, her phone buzzes. A new client inquiry. She taps the screen, curious, and her eyebrows lift slightly. When she sees the referral source, someone's still working at Grayson and Howe. For a moment, she just stands there, holding the phone. Then, she smiles. A real smile. Not smug, not bitter. Just at peace. She silences the buzz, slips the phone in her pocket, and looks around the office. High ceilings, warm wood, big windows overlooking downtown. This was the space she used to daydream about while sitting in that gray cubicle, shrinking under fluorescent lights, waiting for someone to finally see her. He said I was replaceable, she murmurs to herself. And maybe I was. But only by the version of myself who finally stopped waiting to be chosen. She walks out and locks the door behind her, the night air soft on her skin. The city keeps moving, but she doesn't rush anymore. She's not chasing anything, not trying to prove anything, not looking back. Because the best revenge isn't making them regret losing you. It's realizing you never needed them in the first place.